Naledi Pandor, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, joined by Zain Dango. And so
the finding, we think, also makes it clear that it is plausible that genocide is taking place against the Palestinian people in Gaza. You would have heard the court's president actually saying this, of the revitalized agreement. On our handover of the team, we'll be leaving in this weekend to proceed to Juba. This necessarily imposes an obligation on all states to cease funding and facilitating Israel's military actions, which, as the court has indicated, are plausibly genocidal. Task team we have established to support Deputy President Mashatile is critical to the implementation of the Free Trade Area Agreement.
South Africa did indeed ask for a ceasefire, but of course the difficulty was that Hamas is not a party to the dispute before the court. Hamas is a party to the conflict, but not to the dispute. And the court can only impose measures upon parties to the dispute. So it would have been quite difficult for the court to impose on Israel a measure to say that it has to suspend military operations, while it cannot at the same time impose a similar measure on Hamas. And that's why they have probably refrained from doing that. The ruling is binding on Israel. Israel is a member to the court, to the genocide conventions, to the United Nations. So it is bound by these provisional measures. And Israel must report within 1 month to the court what it has done and what it is doing to comply with those measures. States offering either political or substantial material support to Israel, of course, need to rethink now what that means in legal terms and whether that could not somehow imply that they themselves also risk violating international law.
The events of the past few months in Gaza have illustrated that Israel is acting contrary to its international law obligations, including those in terms of the Genocide Convention. South Africa has thus opted to resort to international judicial mechanisms, including at the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, to seek justice for the people of Palestine. The actions that we are all witnessing daily by Israel are a violation of international law, including the UN Charter, the Geneva Convention and its protocols. As South Africa has stated before, by its attacks on and kidnapping of innocent civilians, Hamas has also violated international law. Madam President, the decision by the court marks a decisive victory for the international rule of law and a significant milestone in the search for justice for the Palestinian people.
The very attempt to level the charge of genocide against Israel is an outrageous distortion of the Genocide Convention. It is an attempt to empty the word of its unique force and special meaning, and to turn the convention itself into a tool of terrorists who have total disdain for life and for the law against those trying to defend against them. The court could not have been clearer that it has not and could not make at this preliminary stage any finding on the charge of genocide leveled by South Africa. Israel is confident that South Africa's libel against Israel will be rejected by the ICJ at the merits phase of proceedings.
The ICJ has offered a resounding rebuke to those who claimed that the case of genocide against Israel was meritless and baseless. The court also dismissed the premise that somehow Israel, by its very nature, would be above the law and could not be accused of committing the crime of genocide. At the time where the Palestinian people are being deliberately deprived of the requirements of life, of what they need for their survival in Gaza, undermining UNRWA would be inhumane, cruel, and irresponsible.
Some members have argued that the provisional measures ordered by the International Court of Justice are a reason to change course. But in many ways, the court's measures reaffirm the framework that we put in place with Resolution 2712 and 2720. The court's provisional measures order is consistent with the United States' view that Israel has the right to take action in accordance with international humanitarian law to ensure the terrorist attacks of October 7th cannot be repeated. We must be honest about what the court did not order. Specifically, it has not ordered an immediate ceasefire. It has not made any finding that this preliminary phase of the proceedings that Israel committed genocide or otherwise violated the Genocide Convention, and indeed the United States continues to believe that such allegations are unfounded. The United States' decision to temporarily pause our funding for UNRWA was made independently from other donors. Let me be clear, it was not a punitive measure, but it is a wake-up call. We need to see fundamental changes at UNRWA to prevent this from happening again.
ولكن صدمنا بالقرار أنه منحت محكمة العدل الدولية شهر للاحتلال الإسرائيلي بتخفيف الضربات على المدنيين، وهذا صدمة كبيرة لنا تحت هذه الظروف المريبة والصعبة والإبادة الجماعية التي ترتكبها إسرائيل بحقنا في غزة.
قرار مجحف، ما دام أنا لا يحق لي أن أرجع على بيتي، هذا قرار مجحف. ووقف بالنسبة لوقف العدوان، أنت يعني هلقيت أنت بتعطي قرارات. بالنسبة لوقف العدوان، أنت هدف وين يعني محكمة العدل الدولية من هذا القرار؟ وقف الجرائم، خان يونس أنت قاعدة بتنباد، يعني عندك لاجئين نازحين على وسائل الإعلام، أنتم طبعا كلكم شايفين هذا الإشي وشايفينه، طبعا وين محكمة العدل من هذا الإشي؟